So, you are about to start your Pokemon trading card game journey, and you come across a decision you must make right from the get-go, and that is, which format will you choose to play first? In this video, I'm going to be giving a guide to the top 5 best formats to play in 2025, whether they are provided by the Pokemon company themselves or a fan-made, and we'll cover everything from what the rules are of these formats to why each format may or may not suit you. So make sure to stick around to the very end so you can get the full picture of what it's really like to play the Pokemon TCG. With that being said, let's get into it. Standard format is the most popular format in the Pokemon TCG, with TPCI recognising it as its main format to play in the Pokemon TCG by hosting regional, national and international tournaments, including World Championships, every year. The rules for this format are as follows. The standard format rules are pretty simple. Your deck must consist of exactly 60 cards, no more no less. You can also play up to 4 copies of a card with the same name in your deck, excluding basic energy cards. And finally, all cards you play in your deck must have a certain regulation mark. Currently, you must have cards in your deck with a regulation G mark or later. You can find this regulation mark in the bottom left hand corner of a card, or in short, cards printed typically in the past 2 to 3 years are legal for play. So why play the standard format? Well, it's ideal for new players wanting to get into the game, and it's especially budget friendly with products like League Battle decks being released by the Pokemon company, which makes it super affordable, and it's just really good to get into the game, to be honest. And finally, online and physical in-person play is available. TCG Live supports standard format in full, and there are regular in-person tournaments at your locals or nationals or international play as well, which is insane. It's probably the most covered format the Pokemon TCG has, to be honest, but with most things there's always a format's downside, and that is there's a limited card pool. Obviously standard is only includes sets from the last like 2 to 3 years, so there is like limited creativity, and there is a very distinguished meta, meaning that there is a clear better deck than others. So you know, there's obviously going to be better matchups than others, which can make the format boring sometimes. We're just getting started with all the possible formats you can play in the Pokemon TCG, and up next is a personal favourite of mine, so let's go and get into it. This is really exciting. Of course, this format I'm referring to is expanded. It's really fun, and it's still recognised by TPCI as the game's official secondary format, simply because of its vast variety of cards you have access to create decks with. In this format, cards from 2011 all the way to the present day are legal for play, so basically from black and white set onwards, which is absolutely wild. This is a particular favourite for long-standing players at the Pokemon TCG like myself, being able to reminisce and relive older cards and making decks combined with a mixture of new and old cards, making for some really crazy and busted combos which can be really fun in either a competitive or a casual setting. The same format rules from standard format apply for expanded as well, except you can play any card that was printed from black and white base set to the present day, with there being a set ban list for some cards in this in this era of Pokemon cards, just simply because some of them are really broken. But you can find this set ban list on the Pokemon website, linked in the description of this video. So why play the expanded format? Well, wider access to cards means more creativity and freedom to build decks, so if you're a deck builder at heart, this is the format for you. Good for newer players wanting to try something different compared to standard format, and it's also good for long-standing players and players who have older cards and collections and are returning to the game and just want to, you know, feel a bit of nostalgia nostalgia by playing older cards from older sets. There are also some expanded side events at in-person tournaments, but there has been no dedicated expanded regional events since COVID-19, so that's a bit of a bummer, but it's also a great format to play casually. So why not play Expanded? Well, there is a clear meta from the competitive side of Expanded, which basically just consists of Regidrago V-Star, to be honest, as proved by this image on your screen now. But we are still currently waiting for online support to be added to TCG Live, and we've been waiting for 4 years, even though TPCI said that it would be promised that Expanded would be added in a later update, but that was 4 years ago. So it's just really crazy and stupid. But some older cards are also particularly quite hard to find and expensive in terms of in-person tabletop play. So from a financial standpoint, expanded tabletop may not be for you, but this is why we need online support for full expanded on TCG Live to make it more accessible for everyone. There is a more nerd format of expanded hanging around on TCG Live that viewers watching are probably more familiar with, because this is what the majority of my channel is based on. So let's go and dive into that next. Expanded beta format is of course the format I'm referring to here, and that's sort of been created in recent times, and it's basically a middle ground so that TPCI can develop the full expanded format on TCG Live. I hope the most well-made game ever.
You need to leave!
The same rules from standard and expanded formats apply to expanded beta, except the card pool is slightly more limited compared to expanded, with players only being able to play cards from Sun and Moon base set onwards. Expanded beta is a great starting point or middle ground for newer players wanting to try out and test the expanded format, but there's also online support on TCG Live for expanded beta, which is also really good, but obviously there are some downsides with expanded beta format. It does not provide the full expanded format experience yet with black and white and XY cards implemented on TCG Live. There are also no in-person events or indeed online tournaments for expanded beta yet, simply because we don't really play expanded beta in person, and we still can't play expanded beta friendly matches against our friends, which is honestly really stupid. TPCI, what are you doing about that? And also it's a half-baked and temporary format, which isn't great, to be honest. But yeah, those are my thoughts on expanded beta. I really do hope expanded beta format does get the upgrade it deserves on TCG Live to become full expanded format, as it's something that the entire player base and community has asked for and were promised by TPCI 4 years ago now, which is absolutely mental. But I'm trying to become the #1 place for expanded and expanded beta content on YouTube in the Pokemon TCG space, so feel free to check out my other deck profile videos and make sure to like and subscribe with the notification bell on so you don't miss another one of my uploads in the future. But now that the TPCI recognised formats are out of the way, let's move on to, in my opinion, some of the best formats the game has ever seen. Jimmy the Challenge, or GLC you guys, the PTCG by none other than Andrew Mahone, or Tricky Jim as he's better known, the face of Pokemon TCG on YouTube, and I would say GLC is probably the most popular fan-made format the game has ever seen. So here are the rules. So for GLC, you can only play one copy of a card with the same name in your deck, except for basic energy cards. 2, the Pokemon you play in your deck must all be of the same type, so if you want to play a water deck, for example, you can only play water type Pokemon. Rule number 3 is no rule box Pokemon allowed, or any cards from the banned list either, and that's any cards with rule box I must mention as well. And also the legal card pool is black and white and onwards, and your deck must consist of exactly 60 cards. Gym Leader Challenge is really good because it rewards creativity in deck building and has a large card pool like Expanded, and also the format is relatively balanced. There is no, clearly defined meta deck. It is really balanced in my opinion, and there are some in-person side event tournaments as TPCI is beginning to recognise this format on a tournament-wide scale, which is excellent. There's also occasional online support on TCG Live through trainer trials, and it's community driven as well, and it mirrors what it's like to be a gym leader in the Pokemon video games, which is really good for some players who want to be like or play like they are playing the video game, which is excellent. But obviously there's some bads of GLC. It's a lot slower compared to other formats. You only have one of each card in your deck, and some people may not like singleton format because they like having multiple of each card to play so they can have better decks. But it's also not very consistent. Decks aren't very consistent either, following my previous point, and full support for this format is yet to be incorporated online, and it's not a permanent format on TCG Live, as this format only has Sun and Moon cards onwards in TCG Live, which is a bit disappointing, and it's very much like expanded beta on TCG Live as well, which is quite disappointing. But yeah, those are my thoughts on GLC. You can find a dedicated GLC website with the rules and best decks to play to get started on your GLC journey in the description below. With that being said, let's move on to a very recently made community format that combines two different card games into one, sort of. Last but certainly not least, there is the recently founded Pokémon format, introduced in August 2025 and created by Noah MP3. Make sure to check him out, link in the description. This format distinguishes itself by being a 4-player free-for-all format rather than the traditional 1v1 gameplay. Here are the rules. Unlike every other format mentioned in this video, Commander decks must consist of 100 cards, no more, no less, and you can only play one copy of each card in your deck, similar to Gym Leader Challenge, except for basic energy cards, of course. Not only this, but one of those 100 cards you must play is going to be your Commander. Your Commander decides what type of Pokemon you can play in your deck, further restricting your deck building options, but your Commander is your most accessible and replayable card, since it has its own spot on the board from which you can play it. Last of all, this format has the biggest card pool of them all, being every single tournament legal card ever printed from Gen 1 base set to present. It's absolutely huge.
That's what she said!
So what are the pros of Commander format? Well, it's good for veteran players playing nostalgic cards, and for newer players discovering the rich history of Pokemon cards and its trading card game. It's also super fun and it's really creative when it comes to deck building. There's a massive card pool, as I mentioned, all the way back from Gen 1 base set. It's absolutely wild. All the way from then until now is just mental. Online support is available via websites like untap.in. This is not available on TCG Live though, so yeah, we have to use third-party websites to do this. It also mirrors other card games like Magic the Gathering with the 100 card decks, and playing with multiple players, more than 2, which is absolutely wild. There are proxies allowed for in-person play, so we can make it less expensive for you to buy in-person cards, as some of the cards are really expensive and really hard to find these days. That's kind of a downside as well, but anyway, we are doing some pros here. So, and also webcam matches are allowed, so that is really good. So multiple ways to play this format, which is excellent, but unfortunately the large card pool is you know, one of its biggest drawbacks, even though that there are lots of resources that can aid you in deck building, players that are less familiar with older cards might still have a higher barrier to entry due to the size of the card pool. Their knowledge may not be as extensive as other people's who have played the Pokemon TCG for years. So, you know, if you're a recent new player, this format probably isn't for you. And also, Poke Commander is really long in terms of, you know, in terms of game time as well. So this format is probably not also for you if you want a really quick game of Pokemon. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Commander format. The Poke Commander community is incredibly welcoming and open to new players. Poke Commander is the perfect format for people that like to hone their deck building prowess with creative strategies, or for new players that just want to mess around with a more board game like approach to the Pokemon TCG. If you want to learn more, feel free to join the Poke Commander Discord server linked in the description. I'm also in that Discord server, so we can have a chat about it if you want, but they are more than welcome to have you over there. It's just such a nice community, to be honest. Now couldn't be a better time to start playing the Pokemon TCG with a wide and ever-growing range of formats to dip your toes into. Whether you're a new or experienced veteran player, there's always something for you to play. But you got to let me know in the comments, did I miss any of your favourite formats that I might not have mentioned? But what are you waiting for? Let's dive into some expanded beta deck profiles on your screen to get started. But until next time, stay strategic everyone. See ya.